Hello everyone, it is Sunday and unfortunately I had to cancel lunch with my brother today. Sorry brother. So I have time and thought. I'll finally take the dead feet from the freezer and show you a little something here. So now you have a lot. These are dead feet from dead claws of a cow that I took care of, which unfortunately had to be slaughtered due to milk production for refinement. So I'll show you later the documentation of her in her entire life history, and I think that's important for professional hoof care. That's so courses should look like, because in a course I get dead claws, but usually only one piece, one foot, either front, back, left, right, doesn't matter, and you have no idea what is or was with the cow and why it went to slaughter. So it didn't go to slaughter because of the claws. To explain, this is the right side of the cough. This is the left. How do I know that? As I know it from the horn growth, this front, back, right, left. So the other way around in the direction of movement. You now see the left side here. Why is it the left side? And why is it the front? Because the inner claw is grown more than the outer claw. At the back, however, it's the outer, the inside. If you're still not sure, well, it's more stressed. How do I know that? You see how it's overgrown? Simply explained, right, left in the direction of movement. I said it wrong now. Left, right. So I should turn it around, then it would be easier. But you can see it better this way. This is now the left inner claw, more overgrown. Here is the pressure, and now to the whole bearing edge thing. The cow has no bearing edge. Why not? You just have to look at the interior. So, the claw bone, well, that causes problems for the cow. Now this area here causes all the problems. When the claw horn becomes overgrown in this area, it leads to issues, and that's the only reason problems arise, due to the sprain when the cow twists its foot. So in movement, nothing else. There is no stone causing the problem or any other nonsense being told. Rather, the movement of the cow is the problem, and the movement of so much weight on so little. That's inside now. And if you look now where the claw bone is located, it is not at the edge, it is in the middle part of the sole. So, and all the pressure that the cow gets here causes problems in this area or in that area. And there is no other explanation. Just look at the interior and use a bit of common sense, because the fact that it hangs there, everything inside, does not mean that the weight should go there. Because the hoof horn itself can withstand immense loads through pressure, but not through tension, because tension occurs here on the wall and inside during movement. And we want all the tension and pressure load to be in the sole area under the claw bone and not on the wall side, because then you'll have problems, as the pressure will be directed upwards and there's nothing up here, no connection. There is a life here and it then causes defects, and that's it. There is no other explanation. You could now Quote, I don't know someone who wrote a book in the 1970s, but that's not the case. Pressure should be on the inner surface of the soul. And of course, the thickness of the soul is very important. It must be sufficient to support the weight. So now let's move on. So that's the question. And understanding the entire musculoskeletal system of the cow is also quite simple. The cow has 4 legs, yes, and it can stand like this. Now take it with a cow. Also einer, der eine jetzt dem. Yes, it doesn't want to work anymore. Let's take a new battery. So now take it with the cow and cut the outer claw. There are amputations. She will continue to stand. Because the cow's musculoskeletal system is simply fascinating, so she can relieve a pain through the cow-like posture. This is not a generic problem, it's simply pain relief. You can do something even more extreme with the musculoskeletal system. You can also cut away both legs. The cow will not fall over, it will limp heavily. It's like when we walk on crutches. Yes, that's the capability of a cow. Don't do this at home with your cows. This is just so you understand the locomotor system of a cow. Because I can constantly write some comments that wall defects arise because the bearing edge is removed. The cow has no bearing edge. So let's continue here.
Sole surfaces.
Should has indicator because they have sufficient thickness. Here are the hocks are still frozen. I had them in a freezer for a very long time. You see, there is quite little growth on the right side now. On the left, let's do it this way. Then it's easier. So the inner claw on the left has a lower heel height than the inner claw on the right, but the outer claws are overgrown, both right and left. Let's open this up. I could have done that right away. Now it's easier. So this is the right side, this is the left side. Now I'll see if I can get this screwed on. Whether I... One's the right, so the left side.
Let's take a look. Well, you little mess maker, then look here on the left.
Let's take that one.
So GDP and as I said, this is a very spontaneous video today because I is the good lunch at my brother's.
So
Doesn't look bad, huh? So now let's take my angle grinder.
That's my angle grinder.
We still need an extension cord.
Let's see where we have an extension cord.
To be continued. So this is not a complete hoof care here. It's just that I've relieved the area here. You see hemorrhages here. You see that there are no hemorrhages here.
Now, for those who say, he's talking nonsense again.
No hemorrhages. What does that mean? It simply means that in this area, problems arise due to sprains, bruising of the dermis or the claw bone. And we're not here because the claw no longer bears as much weight as the claw. Done. We can discuss it now, but that is the only explanation that now
Is possible.
Now let's take this out.
And now I want to see if I can solve this. I haven't done this before. This is the first attempt, but I want to try it to see if it works because I'm curious to there. As I said, attempt number 1. Never done before, but what won't I do to
entertain you.
So let's make the cut further out. So let's see if that does anything. So this is the first cut. Now for you who are constantly fussing here, Stan, because of the wall. So look, what I have taken away this year, and we are not yet at the dermis.
Do you see?
Cool, right? I find that fascinating. Now we make the second cut with the same thickness. He's having a bit of trouble there, but we have another solution. Let's just do it.
It cut.
So,
Isn't it an awesome thing, right? The second cut.
Do you see?
Let's make a third cut.
I find that fascinating.
So,
Do you see now where the bone... And how much horn is there now between the bone
And the ground.
and how this runs here? And how much you can relieve it here so that no pressure is applied? That is truly fascinating. And how much can be left here to take on the pressure? So for everyone who is interested, the legs are then frozen. It's too bad for me to saw everything apart just to prove something to you. The thickness of the sole is very important. Let's do it as mentioned. It will be frozen again. The thickness of the sole is very important. Besides the sole thickness, simply relieving the claw bone. That's cool. Well, I like it. That's how it goes. And once again, please stop doing that. To pay attention to the wall.
Because the cow
Has no carrying edge, but rather focuses on the sole thickness and relieving the flexor tendon area so that no corns and sole ulcers develop and the world famous bar wall effects. And regarding horn growth, why does it grow more on the outer claw than on the inner claw? Because the outer claw of the claw bone is simply longer than the claw bone of the inner claw, and that's why the overproduction. And where there is more horn growth, more comes the pressure. And where there is more pressure and stress, it leads to hoof defects. In movement, that is sprains, the hoof problem or the number one cause of hoof problems is sprains, and the passage leads to sprains. So that was spontaneous. I'll clean up, pack everything up now, and then we'll see each other in the next video. Well, I haven't tried Gerhard's hoof disc yet. I'll give it a try. Come on, make it quick. Why do I never try new discs directly on hooves? Because I never know how they work, whether they kick out or not. Whether they... Yes, now we have unplugged it. Now here spontaneously. That's why it's always best on wood. Yes, I must say, very smooth. I like it a bit better. It's not such a huge pinpoint removal like with the extreme one I tested recently. So, dear farmers, try it out on kuhmeister.com. You can try Gerhard's claw disc. Of course, buy it. Gerhard also has several other claw discs, so feel free to take a look. Hello everyone.
As I said, this was a spontaneous video.
But in the near future, when I have time, I am missing about 4 weeks every day, but when I have time, I will really do an explanation here with all the material. It's too much of a shame for me to do it quickly now, and I have to thaw it so that I can really present it and the position as it stands quickly now, or today it just doesn't work. But you saw how spontaneously one can explain all this simply if you really just look at the whole thing. Because nothing against Wiesenrodden, he really explained it perfectly in the 70s with the material he had available. First of all the earlier investigations by Pusch, by Ruscherholz, and many others. You can read in his book what he used, but he actually only 1,100 cows he listed, examined, and observed 10,000 cows. And you cannot compare that with today's time and the possibilities I have. So it's not self-praise or anything. I have him now in the for over 21 years that I have been doing hoofcare. Say and write about 1.6, 1.7 million claws, individual claws maintained. And that says something. And the possibilities today are really greater than the possibilities that back then Ruscherholz couldn't even begin to say. He did it in the 20s and already explained everything perfectly. The Raven just sold it really well, or packaged and sold it really well. That's how it is. So now it's packed, it goes into the freezer. I'll clean up that part and then I'll post the videos. Bye.